What starts the road to prison? It's not usually just drugs and alcohol is the problem. It's something baser, like something earlier.
Oregon prisons, I think America's prisons, are the current mental health facilities of the day. And it's a sad commentary, but that's true.
I mean, you can watch the movies or whatever, watch all the TV shows. It's all true.
We can't build these walls and buildings and throw people away. Do you throw people away? Do you throw people away?
Prison is full of fear and anger and hostility and judgment. So when they come out, what seeds did they water?
Hi, I'm Sarahjoy Marsh, and I'm the founder of the DAYA Foundation. DAYA means mercy or compassion, and stands for Delivering Accessible Yoga Alternatives. I'm a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist, and I teach yoga for people struggling with trauma, addiction, and shame. Sometimes my students talk about me as if they call it like a shame whisperer. To be able to alleviate someone's shame from running their life is like a profound blessing for me to be involved in that. I know how insidious shame can be in our culture. It's in our medical system, our education system, it's in our relationships in our communities, it's in our recovery system. If somebody's still addicted to something, it's because they're not trying hard enough, there's something wrong with them. Yoga came to me in a moment of awe, and it also let me know that I was included in all that is, and everything that has been and will be. And that deepened my sense of belonging. When I realized the healing power of yoga through my own direct lived experience, I also realized it was my mission to help others have access to yoga. That's why I began teaching trauma-informed brain-sensitive yoga and yoga teacher training programs in Oregon's prisons. As much as our culture is aversive to violence, depression, emotional ups and downs, a spiritual crisis, our culture is aversive to mental health challenges. I had a sense that that's who we're incarcerating, by and large. When Oregon's prisons first got started, and when I first went in to teach in these prisons some 60 years after they got started, we were looking at a rehabilitation model that included things like work hard, go to boot camp, behave well, and then get out. We had very few behavioral health therapists. We had a mental health philosophy that was mostly about keeping inmates in place so they wouldn't cause behavior problems and they would have less conflict. We were completely under-resourced for psycho-spiritual, emotional, and mental health healing.
What got me to be as involved as I am into the yoga program here was to share the benefits, the good in yoga that I found myself. Yoga has been able to confirm the inner kindness that we all have and the community that can be developed with our peers and ourselves.
It's allowed me to not only enhance my yoga practice, but it has allowed me to share a practice that has been extraordinary for me, dealing with my mental health and my well-being overall with my fellow incarcerated individuals.
I believe the biggest challenge to heal a person who releases from incarceration is relieving of the guilt or maybe shame. People that carry guilt have a hard time moving forward.
So shame, in my experience as a professional, in my mental health work and my yoga work, shame doesn't work as a motivating factor for healing trauma. We have to see them with evenness, with compassion, and also help them to be responsible for the harm they have done. But to become responsible for the harm that we've done, we have to do without further shaming ourselves. And so our methodology through yoga is to really look at the indwelling essence that each person was before their crime and before their trauma, and to see that some spark of that still exists.
My name is Jacob, and I was incarcerated for 27 years. I was an adrenaline junkie. The way I felt alive was through excitement. But my mom used meth. That was the thing that was permissible in our house. So I started doing that when I was about 13. It's just a thing that I thought was normal. When you've been traumatized, the thing that you try to do is protect yourself from that trauma. It's instinctive because you're always in this fear-based, reactionary place where you're not really in control.
The life that led to prison for me was a childhood abuse. As a 11-year-old boy, it was, I was physically, I can remember being physically weighed down by this experience that happened to me.
A high level of people in there have trauma, and that leads to crime. That leads to incarceration. If you can look at the core of someone's trauma, that's where they can internalize and soak in changes in themselves. Until then, it's just Band-Aids.
When you go to prison, you have this stamp of truth. Now you really are this thing. You're a thief, you're a liar, you're an addict. So you have these identities that shame informs of who you are. There's nothing to counter it to say, no, who you are is human and flawed like everybody else.
You know, I grew up in an abusive household with a stepdad that was abusive in a very, very rough neighborhood. Had I learned how to have a regulation of emotion, I would have made better choices, but I hadn't done anything. No one had even acknowledged that I'd ever even been abused.
Across the spectrum, all of the students that I have worked with in prison have survived some kind of trauma that was unresolved, unresolvable, and there wasn't enough care to give them even a proper shaping of what that trauma was. And then it got expressed as violence or loss of impulse control or addiction, self-harm, other harm.
For me, yoga has been a way to work on the trauma that's been accumulated over years and years of being in this environment. It actually makes the prison safer because it creates a community inside that is focused on health and well-being, and in doing so it reduces the amount of violence and hostility that actually occurs inside the institution, and that has effects, I believe, even outside the institution.
And we do want to feel like we can get out of this mess that we're in. We want some motivation to go in that direction. But if we did it rather from shame, if we were able to do it from a sense that I have a human condition, I also have human dignity, human potential, human capacity. How can I tap into that? If shame is obscuring my view, I won't be able to tap into those things. Shame is oppressing my human dignity. It's oppressing my human potential.
I don't think most people have any idea what we're doing. There's yoga in prisons throughout the world, but this is the only place that I know of where there's inmates that are 200-hour certified teacher trainers that are teaching their peers.
At the institution I was at, I did every single program during that time that existed. And I don't think none of the programs affected me the way yoga did. The yoga teacher training specifically. In the teacher training, you're learning philosophy, but the only way you can learn the philosophy is if you use it. You know, you really soak it in, like no other program that I've ever seen. To affect recidivism, yoga is going to be one of the most impactful things you can introduce into a prison.
In my opinion, not just yoga, but trauma-informed, brain-sensitive yoga teaching is needed and should be in all of our correctional institutions.
Trauma-informed brain-sensitive yoga is a combination of traditional yoga philosophy with its psychophysiological practices and modern brain science, quite specifically interpersonal neurobiology, with the intent to create a field of healing for the community of students and the individual situations that they are coming to class with. Now, currently we're teaching adults in custody to become resident yoga teachers. And my goal for that program is that the more resident yoga teachers we establish in Oregon's prisons, the more access residents have to yoga. So this is expanding capacity for yoga in Oregon's prisons, and it's also empowering individuals to have leadership in their communities, to nourish their inside community, and to advocate for the needs inside their community.
My name's Karen Campbell. I worked in the penitentiary for 13 years. When I became a recreation specialist, I did not stand out in the middle of the basketball court and throw out basketballs to the guys. My take on it was that there were things I could do that would be different. Part of it was bringing in programs that I thought would help. Yoga is very much a good tool for learning to understand yourself and learning to understand others. Just learning to have peace of mind anywhere along the way is a huge step.
This is important. And it's not just the yoga that it's important, it's the community that they feel like they're building. I believe the yoga program in my facility does make a difference in safety. Supervisors need to look at it and try to make it happen.
I think all of us said at one point during our training, this is the single best thing that we've ever done in prison. And part of that best thing was not the component of how it made us feel, it's the component of how it made us capable of giving.
Men and women that have long, hard time, and it gives them the potential and the opportunity to begin to do something that brings them value to themselves and brings value to other people.
This program has transformed the mental and physical health of the inmates. They're healing their trauma. They're becoming better citizens on the inside. When they get released, they are better citizens on the outside.
We need yoga in prisons. Like, bottom line, starting with volunteers just going in and running yoga.
The postures, the meditations, the philosophy, it has this layered effect that just provides this tremendous multifaceted connection with yourself and with others.
I first taught yoga in prison in 1998, and looking back at those decades and for decades to come, what I have seen is that any one of us can be a part of the solution. For any of us with proper training and good support, we can become a healing agent for others. All we need to do is make the effort, take the next step. It's waiting for you.
I haven't really seen anything that can have the effect that yoga can have. And I just really want to see it go back inside and help all the people that were in the situation that I was in.
They were aware of their thoughts. They were aware that things were temporary. And that came from just being curious about stretching.
Rather than throw our mental health problems into prison and throw our drug addiction problems into prison, let's connect with them.
Of all the places that we could share this yoga practice, that's the place I think we can have one of the most profound impacts. And we need people to step up and volunteer and be a part of it.
Yoga itself and vinyasa, and with the dabblings of the philosophy within those sessions, I think that can transform these societies.
It begins to change the culture of that there is some intervention that they can participate in that can actually perhaps change the quality of their lives.
Our methodology has been effective here in Oregon, and I have full confidence it can be effective in any other state that wants the program to happen. There's a massive amount of yoga teachers who want to help and give back. They're certified to teach yoga on the outside, and we can train them to teach yoga teacher training programs on the inside. But for us to expand this program and to keep it stable and sustainable, we need resources that help us to hire professionals to play those roles. If you're a yoga teacher, a prison administrator, or a local citizen and you want to help us directly with our work, please donate to the DAYA Foundation. Every donation matters to us expanding this work from our central hub out to your neighborhoods as well.